Yeah, that's good enough for me. Can't actually see the flag. That's a little disappointing. He always seems to put it up facing into the sun, so I can never see what's on the flag. I know it's on the flag. It's the same thing that's on my command pods. It's just a Kerbal Space Program logo. But still, it's the principle of the matter. Alright, let's wait out one orbit. And a little too long. Alright, let's go ahead and just take off. Landing gear in. Not worried about the solar panel since we're not landing this time. Yeah, okay, cool. Alright, so we can just go straight for a dock. Think I'm getting the hang of that. Keep our nose and the target and the velocity vector all lined up. And boom, straight in. Go ahead and retract the solar panels on that so they don't get damaged by the nuclear engines. Let's get Scott back into the science lab where he belongs. Got a couple of experiments to pull out of here as well. And Ike definitely did not have biomes yet, so sad to see that, but hopefully eventually that will change. The developers have hinted that that might be the next big update after the one that's releasing sometime soon. We'll hopefully add biomes to everything else. The airport? No, ditch that. Alright, everyone is aboard. And it's time to bring this crew home. Right, so that's going to take over a year. So let's switch to something that is stationary. And fast forward away. This is the Martian guess it's not Martian, and this isn't the Duna rover we landed. The original Questor has been bathed in shadow. Where's the sun? Get him out into the sun so he doesn't run out of battery power. this might be the part of the year where this part of the pole is not facing the sun. It is. Uh-oh. Alright, so we're going to hit the brakes on Questor here. Turn the lights off, because that's just draining the power really quick. Pop him onto his landing legs so he's off the ground. And fast forward. So let's go ahead and switch out of Questor, leave him parked where he is. The one and only hipster rover. Hop back into our interplanetary spacecraft. If I had planned this better, I probably would have only brought 3 Kerbals so I could just leave the lander behind. But I need the lander for a seat, so that's the only way I'm getting Shepbur home. Alright, so what I really need is I can either get into Duna orbit and do the burn from there, or I can be really sneaky, wait for Ike to go around to here, and then burn for Kerbin straight from Ike. Which, yeah, I'm going to try that. This is just going to take a moment. I can't fast forward any quicker. Right. Let's just see if I can't make a see if I can't get back to Kerbin from here. That's quite alright. I'm not in a hurry, so we can just do this the hard way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get near Kerbin and probably go into a second orbit. So these guys are going to be in space for a good long time, over 1 Kerbin year, transferring between Duna and Kerbin again. No, they've already been in space for 3.5 years, as it is. Once we leave the influence of Duna and Ike, I will see about trimming up the orbit a little bit to get us home easier. But I'm going to be very careful not to use too much of my fuel, because I want to make sure I've got enough to get back into orbit at Kerbin when we get there. cost us a lot in fuel, but it's going to get us home a lot quicker. Let's go ahead and quick save, though, just in case we screw this up somehow. So if you want to see what I did there is, looking at this from top down, our original orbit had us starting at Duna and getting here well before Kerbin did, and we were going to be meeting it right about here. So what I did was I kind of shifted the orbit, so I was going farther out in this direction, so it would take me longer to get around to Kerbin, and that gave Kerbin a chance to kind of get there before I did. But shifting the orbit like that meant I had to bring it back in closer to the sun again, which is where all the fuel gets burned, because we're doing this out in interplanetary space, so we don't get any benefits from what is that effect called? We don't get any gravity assist from any of the nearby planets, so it costs us a lot more in fuel. What does that affect? There's a fancy name, and I can't remember it. Oh well. You can just go watch a Scott Manley video, he probably knows the fancy names. So we're fast forwarding these 23 days to our maneuver. And let's see if we actually have enough Delta V to do this. Luckily there's no life support in this game yet, so it's just a matter of keeping them from crashing into anything. Do I think north first? Let's turn this and point east now. We want to bring we actually want to bring this vector on the opposite side of the planet because we want to be orbiting in the same direction that the planet rotates, so that the mission that brings us back down to the surface doesn't have to spend even more fuel getting into orbit than normal. Luckily, we are nice and far away from the planet still, so that's a pretty easy fix to make. There we are. Okay, let's work on our aero brake maneuver now. Swivel back around to point west. Alright, we are just going to bring our periapsis ever so slightly within the atmosphere and see what that does to our orbit here. Atmosphere is at 70,000 kilometers, or 70,000 meters, 70 kilometers. Here we are. There it goes. Oh, that changed quickly. Let's get a nice wide one, and then we can correct our inclination and go for a second aero brake maneuver. I don't see Kerbin, so I'm going to put a maneuver here we can alarm to. That way we don't accidentally fast forward through the planet, because then we'll just be flying off into space with nothing to stop us. Which I've done many, many times. So we're going to swing out away from the planet, trim up our orbit just a tiny bit. And we'll do another braking maneuver, I think. I want to be a little careful with my braking maneuvers here, as I'm not sure how much more fuel I've got for these. Oh, never mind, we got plenty. We've got almost enough to go back to Duna, I think. These poor Kerbals, they've been in space for 4 years and 3 hours? Yeah, 4 years and 3 hours to the day. And they're so close to home, yet can't quite get down yet. There we are, nice flat orbit there. And it brought our periapsis out of the atmosphere as well. So that means we can trim this up a little bit just by killing some of our velocity. And that will dip us back into the atmosphere and give us another braking maneuver. So we're going to burn retrograde. And we're just trying to get into a nice lower orbit where we can conceivably be rescued by a ground spacecraft. Yeah, a little bit higher than the space station ought to do. I'm slightly paranoid about warping through the planet, so I kind of backed out of that sooner than I had to. Here we go, let's do this again. Solar panels are in. Yes, never put them back out again. Oops. I'm desperately trying to avoid unbalancing the ship while I try and move the fuel around a bit. So I'm moving some of this fuel up into the forward fuel tanks so that I can then take what's left in each of those and put that in the center tank without unbalancing these two outside pylons. And then everything that's in the center tank I'm going to put in the lander and use that to get two of my Kerbals back down to the surface. It doesn't have parachutes, so I'm a little worried. Whoops, I did not complete that transfer. I'm going to have to land that one manually. Oh, I mean, yeah. I don't get to just pop the parachute and let it settle onto the ground like normal. There we are, managed to do that without unbalancing my spacecraft. Though two of my pylons are now completely useless. I should have put some separators so I could just eject those when I was done with them. So let's turn off trajectories. And we're going... It's doing this again, is it? Alright. There we go. Just a quick EVA and I'm able to make maneuver nodes again. Also a weird bug. We're going to circularize this orbit. And we're going to drop the lander. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and send down a second... Yeah, let's send Scott. If there's something important aboard, I'm less likely to crash the thing. Wait, let's actually take all the science with them as well. So everything can go back down to Kerbin. For some reason, I can't store one of the experiments here, so I'm going to leave that one on up here in the science lab. Weird. I guess there's a limit now to how much information you can store in a single module. That's a bit of a bummer. Oh, did I not actually put any RCS on this thing? I didn't. Oops. Okay, so no RCS on the interplanetary spacecraft. I can't believe I just now noticed I forgot that. Oh well. Shouldn't need it. Hopefully the rescue craft will have plenty of RCS for both. Get us down to this maneuver and get the interplanetary ship out of the atmosphere. You can see we're down to just 2 engines now, thanks to my weird fuel moving about. Left the lander behind. I like that it remembered the stupid name I gave it ages ago, even though it's been connected to this thing since then. I switch back into the lander. Alright, let's bring up trajectory, see where we're going to land here. Now we've got science on board, so we want to come down on dry land. And that doesn't look like it's going to happen here, so let's actually boost into orbit ourselves. Let's turn the engine on. Critical component of getting into orbit. Alright, so we're just going to fast forward around until the Space Center is on... Oh, how did I... No, I didn't. Okay. Gonna get the Space Center on the day side of the planet so we can make this nice and easy landing.